The transport ship shook hard as another blast hit its side. Alina grabbed the wall and held on tight. Around her, 7 other engineers did the same. They were not soldiers. They were just workers coming back from fixing a mining station on the edge of human space. "What is happening?" shouted Marcus, a big man with oil stains on his hands that never seemed to wash off no matter how hard he tried. The ship's captain came on the speaker. His voice was full of fear. "We are under attack. Unknown ships. They are not responding to any calls. Everyone get to the escape pods now." Alina ran with the others toward the pod bay. She had been an engineer for 15 years. She had fixed ships, stations, and machines of all kinds, but she had never been in a real attack before. Her heart beat so fast she could feel it in her throat. They did not make it to the pods. The wall in front of them exploded inward. Strange metal shapes came through the hole. They looked like crabs made of dark purple metal, with too many legs and glowing blue eyes. Behind them came taller figures. These ones walked on 2 legs like humans, but they were covered in hard shells the color of dried blood. Their faces had no mouths that Alina could see, just 4 small eyes arranged in a square. One of the engineers, a young woman named Sarah, screamed and tried to run. A crab thing shot something from its body. A net of glowing threads wrapped around Sarah and she fell to the ground, unable to move. "Do not run," Alina said to the others. Her voice shook, but she forced herself to stay calm. "They want us alive or they would have killed us already." She was right. Within minutes, all 8 engineers were wrapped in those glowing nets and carried through the hole in the ship's wall. Alina saw the transport ship one last time as they were taken away. It was broken and burning, floating dead in space. The alien ship was dark inside. The air smelled wrong, like metal and something sour. The gravity felt heavier than Earth normal. Alina and the others were thrown into a room with no windows and only one door. The door closed behind them and the nets disappeared, melting away like ice in warm water. "What do they want with us?" asked Thomas, the youngest of the group. He was only 22, fresh out of engineering school. "I do not know," Alina said. She looked around the room. The walls were made of the same dark purple metal as the crab machines. There was nothing else in the room. No beds, no water, no toilet. "But we need to stay calm and watch. Learn everything we can." "Learn," Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Learn what? How to die?" "No," Alina said firmly. "Learn how their technology works. We are engineers. That is what we do. We learn how things work and we fix them, or we break them." The aliens came for them after what felt like hours. The door opened and the tall, shell-covered ones came in. They made clicking sounds at each other. Then they grabbed the engineers and pulled them out of the room. They were taken through long hallways. Alina looked at everything. She saw cables running along the walls, glowing with soft blue light. She saw panels with strange symbols. She saw small machines moving on their own, cleaning the floors and walls. Everything she saw, she remembered. The aliens brought them to a large room. In the center was something Alina recognized immediately. It was a human ship engine. Not just any engine, but a Hanson Park drive, the kind used for faster-than-light travel. It was broken, with parts missing and others burned. One of the aliens stepped forward. It held a small device to its chest and spoke. When it did, the device made words in English. The voice was flat and without feeling. "You are engineers, you will fix." Alina looked at the engine. She looked at the aliens. Then she looked at her fellow engineers. She saw Marcus with his strong hands. She saw Sarah, who was the best at electrical systems. She saw Thomas, who could calculate numbers in his head faster than any computer. She saw the others, each one good at something different. "We will need tools," Alina said. The alien made more clicking sounds. Then it pointed to a wall. The wall opened and behind it were tools. Human tools taken from their ship, but there were also alien tools, things Alina had never seen before. "You will fix, you will not leave," If you try to leave, you will die." The aliens went away. The door closed. Alina and the others were alone with the broken engine and the tools. "Can we really fix this?" Thomas asked. "Maybe," Alina said, "but that is not what we are going to do." She picked up one of the alien tools. It was shaped like a long tube with a glowing end. She did not know what it did yet, but she would learn. "We are going to do what engineers do," she said. "We are going to build something that will get us out of here." "Build what?" Sarah asked. Alina smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had just found a problem to solve. "I do not know yet, but look around. They gave us tools, they gave us parts, they gave us time, and they made one big mistake." "What mistake?" Marcus asked. "They thought we would just fix their stolen engine and be good little prisoners. They do not understand what humans are. We do not just fix things. We make things. We take things apart and put them back together in new ways. We have been doing it since we first picked up rocks and sticks." Alina put down the alien tool and walked around the broken engine. She touched the cables on the walls. She looked at the panels. "We have everything we need right here. We have alien technology we can study. We have our own skills. And we have 8 human engineers who want to go home." She turned to face the others. She could see fear in their eyes, but she could also see something else. She could see the spark that made someone become an engineer in the first place. The need to understand. The desire to build. "So here is what we are going to do. We are going to pretend to work on the engine. We are going to take our time. And while we do that, we are going to learn everything about this ship. Every system, every weakness, every part we can use." "And then," Thomas asked. "And then we are going to build our way out of here." The others looked at each other. Marcus was the first to nod, then Sarah. Then one by one all of them agreed. "Good," Alina said. "Now let us get to work. We have a lot to learn." The first few days were hard. The aliens gave them food that tasted like wet cardboard but kept them alive. They gave them water that had a strange color but was safe to drink. They let them sleep on the floor of the room with the broken engine. Every day, the aliens watched. They stood at the door and made clicking sounds to each other. Sometimes they came in and looked at what the engineers were doing. Alina made sure they always looked busy with the engine. She had Marcus take apart pieces they did not need. She had Thomas write down numbers on a tablet they found in the tools. She had Sarah trace cables and make maps. But the real work happened in secret. At night, when the lights in the room went dim, Alina gathered the others around her. She spoke in whispers. "Today I learned something new. See those cables in the wall? They carry power, but not like our electricity. It is more like a wave. And those small machines that clean, they respond to sound. Specific sounds at specific frequencies." Sarah held up a small device she had hidden in her clothes. "I took this from one of the panels. I think it is a communicator of some kind. I am trying to figure out how it works." "Be careful," Alina warned. "If they catch us with that, they will know what we are doing." "I know, but we need to understand their systems if we want to escape." Alina nodded. Sarah was right, they needed to take risks. The days turned into weeks. The engineers learned more and more. They discovered that the alien ship was huge, with thousands of rooms and corridors. They discovered that the aliens used sound and light to communicate, not just with each other but with their machines. They discovered that the dark purple metal was strong but had a weakness. It became soft when exposed to certain frequencies of sound. They also discovered something else. They were not the only prisoners. One day, while being taken to a different room to collect more parts, Alina saw a door open briefly. Inside, she saw other beings. Not aliens like their captors. Different aliens. Small and thin with skin like silver paper. They looked scared and weak. "Other prisoners," she whispered to Marcus, who was beside her. "Maybe they can help us," Marcus whispered back. "Maybe, but first we need to help ourselves." Back in their room, Alina called a meeting. "We have enough information now. It is time to make a plan." She spread out the map Sarah had made. They showed the part of the ship they had been able to explore. It was not much, but it was enough. "Here is where we are," Alina said, pointing to a spot on the map. "Here is where they keep small ships. We saw it when they first brought us in." "That is far away," Thomas said. "How do we get there?" "We walk, but first we need to deal with the guards, the doors, and the alarm systems." "How do we do all that?" Sarah asked. Alina smiled. Over the weeks her smiles had become more real. She was not just surviving now. She was planning, she was building, she was doing what she loved. "We build things. I have been studying the alien tools. Some of them are weapons, but the aliens do not know we know that. We can use them. And those cleaning machines, I think I can reprogram them to help us." She held up the communicator Sarah had taken. "This is the key. It sends signals to all the machines on the ship. If we can figure out the right signals, we can make the machines do what we want." "That sounds impossible," Thomas said. "Nothing is impossible for an engineer," Marcus said. He was smiling too now. "We just have not figured it out yet." They worked for 3 more days. They barely slept. Every moment the aliens were not watching, they worked on their secret projects. Alina modified the alien tools to make them into weapons. Sarah figured out how to use the communicator to control the cleaning machines. Marcus built a device that could make the purple metal soft using sound waves. Thomas calculated the best route to the ship bay. On the night they chose to escape, everything was ready. "Remember," Alina said to the group, "we move fast and we stick together. No one gets left behind. We are all going home." They nodded. Their faces were scared but determined. They were engineers. They solved problems. And right now the problem was getting off this ship alive. Alina pressed a button on the modified communicator. All around the ship, things started to happen. The cleaning machine stopped cleaning. They started moving toward specific locations, blocking doors and corridors. The lights in certain areas went dark. Alarms began to sound in parts of the ship far away from where the engineers were. "Confusion," Alina said. "While they figure out what is happening, we move." She opened the door to their room. It was not locked. The aliens had been sure their prisoners were too scared and too confused to try anything. They were wrong. The 8 engineers stepped out into the corridor. It was time to go home. The corridors of the alien ship were dark and strange. Blue lights glowed softly along the walls, making shadows that seemed to move on their own. Alina led the way, holding the modified tool that was now a weapon. Behind her came the others, each carrying something they had built or modified. "Left here," Thomas whispered. He had memorized the route. His mind was like a computer for directions and numbers. They turned left. The corridor was empty. The cleaning machines had done their job well. They had blocked the aliens in other parts of the ship, at least for now. But Alina knew they did not have much time. The aliens would figure out what was happening soon. They needed to move fast. They came to a large door. It was closed and would not open when they approached. Sarah stepped forward. She held a small device made from parts of the alien communicator and pieces of their own tools. "Give me a moment," she said. She pressed the device against a panel next to the door. There was a soft sound, almost like music. The door slid open. "How did you do that?" Thomas asked. "Everything on this ship responds to sound patterns," Sarah explained as they moved through the door. "I just learned to speak their language." On the other side of the door was a larger space. It looked like a storage area. Big containers made of the purple metal were stacked along the walls. Some of them were open, showing parts and materials inside. "We should take what we can," Marcus said, "in case we need to fix things later." Alina nodded. They had planned for this. Each person grabbed small useful items and put them in bags they had made from cloth found in the engine room. Power cells, cables, tools, anything that might help. Then they heard it, a clicking sound getting louder. Aliens were coming. "Move," Alina said, "now." They ran through the storage area to another door on the far side. Sarah opened it the same way as before. They went through and found themselves in a corridor that looked different from the others. The walls here were not smooth. They had windows looking into rooms on both sides. Through the windows, they saw things that made them stop. The rooms were full of prisoners, not just the silver-skinned aliens Alina had seen before. There were many different kinds. Some had fur, some had scales, some looked almost like plants. All of them looked tired and scared and trapped. "There are so many," Sarah said softly. "We cannot help them all," Alina said, but her voice was not sure. She was looking at the prisoners. She was thinking. "We barely have enough room in a small ship for us," Thomas said. "We cannot take them." "I know," Alina said, but she did not move forward. She was still thinking. Marcus put a hand on her shoulder. "Alina, we have to go. The aliens are coming." She knew he was right, but she also knew something else, something that felt important. "When we escape," she said slowly, "these prisoners will suffer for it. The aliens will be angry. They will take it out on whoever is left." "We cannot save everyone," Marcus said gently. "No, but maybe we can do something." Alina looked at the communicator device Sarah was holding. She looked at the panels on the walls. She started thinking like an engineer again, not just about the problem in front of her, but about the whole system. "Sarah, can you send a signal to all the doors on this level?" Sarah looked confused. "Maybe, why?" "Can you open them all at once?" Sarah understood. Her eyes went wide. "You want to free everyone." "I want to give them a chance. That is all I can do. A chance." Sarah worked on the device. The clicking sounds were getting louder. The aliens were getting closer. Thomas was watching the corridor behind them, his face tight with fear. "Almost there," Sarah said. "Hurry," Marcus said. "Got it." Sarah pressed something on the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then there was a sound like a wave passing through the ship. Every door on the level opened at once. Every cell, every prison, every container holding a living being. The prisoners looked around, confused at first. Then they understood. They started to move, to run, to escape in every direction. "Now they have a chance," Alina said. "Let us take ours." They ran. Behind them, they could hear the chaos spreading. Prisoners were everywhere now, running and hiding and fighting. The aliens would have too many problems to focus on just 8 human engineers. They reached another door. This one was bigger and heavier than the others. "The ship bay should be on the other side," Thomas said. Sarah tried her sound device. Nothing happened. She tried again, still nothing. "This door is different," she said. "I cannot open it." Alina looked at the door. She looked at the panels around it. She looked at the wall itself. "Marcus," she said, "your sound device, the one that makes the metal soft." Marcus understood immediately. He pulled out a box-shaped thing he had built from alien parts. It was ugly and held together with tape and wire, but it worked. He turned it on and pointed it at the wall next to the door. The purple metal started to glow slightly. Then it started to bend. "Push," Alina said. They all pushed together. The metal gave way slowly, like thick mud. It was hard work, but after a few minutes they had made a hole big enough to crawl through. On the other side was the ship bay. It was huge. The ceiling was so high they could barely see it. The floor was covered with small ships of different sizes and shapes. Most were alien ships, strange and angular with no clear front or back. But at the far end of the bay, Alina saw something that made her heart jump. Human ships, 3 of them, taken from other victims probably, but still human, still familiar. "There," she said, pointing. They ran across the bay. Halfway there they heard sounds behind them. The aliens had found the hole in the wall. They were coming through. "Keep going," Alina shouted. Do not stop. They reached the human ships. The first one was too damaged to fly. The second was missing its engine completely, but the third one looked intact. Get in, Alina said. Sarah, can you start it? Sarah climbed into the pilot seat. Her hands moved over the controls. It has power, but the navigation system is locked. I need time to break through. We do not have time, Thomas said. He was looking back at the aliens. There were many of them now, running across the bay toward the ships. Alina looked around. She needed to buy them time, but how? Then she saw it. Near the human ships were containers of fuel. Human fuel, probably taken from the same ships, and next to the fuel were some of the alien power cells they had collected. Marcus, Thomas, help me, she said. We are going to make a wall. They did not ask questions. They started moving containers, building a barrier between the ships and the aliens. Alina worked on something else. She took an alien power cell and started connecting it to a fuel container. What are you doing? Marcus asked. Making a gift for our friends, Alina said. When this power cell overloads, it will make the fuel explode. It will not kill them all, but it will slow them down. How do we set it off without being caught in the explosion? Alina pulled out one of the modified tools. This sends a signal from far away. I set it up to trigger the overload. The aliens were almost at the barrier now. They were climbing over the containers, clicking and screaming in their strange language. Sarah, Alina shouted, we need to go now. I almost have it, Sarah shouted back. The first alien came over the barrier. Marcus hit it with a heavy tool and it fell back. More were coming. Sarah. Got it. The ship's engines came to life. The back of the ship glowed with power. Everyone in, Alina shouted. They climbed into the ship. Alina was the last one. She stood at the door, the trigger device in her hand. Thank you for having us, she said to the aliens, but it is time to go home. She pressed the trigger and closed the door. The ship flew toward the bay doors just as the explosion happened behind them. Fire and light filled the bay. The aliens that were not killed were thrown back by the force of the blast. But the bay doors were still closed. We are going to hit them, Thomas shouted. No, we are not, Sarah said. She had a look on her face that Alina had never seen before. It was wild and fierce and absolutely certain. Sarah flew the ship straight at the doors. At the last moment, she fired the ship's small weapons. The doors cracked. The ship hit them and they broke apart. Pieces of metal flew everywhere. And then they were out. They were in space. They were free. Behind them, the alien ship grew smaller. Around them, stars stretched out forever. We did it, Marcus said. He sounded like he did not believe it. We did it, Sarah said. She was laughing and crying at the same time. Alina sat down in a chair. Her legs felt weak. Her hands were shaking, but she was smiling. We did it, she said, but we are not home yet. She looked at the navigation screen. It showed their location. They were far from human space, very far. How long to get home? Thomas asked. Sarah checked the calculations. At this ship's best speed, about 3 weeks, if nothing goes wrong. Something always goes wrong, Marcus said, but we are engineers, we will handle it. Alina nodded. She looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there was home. Get us moving, she said to Sarah. We have a long way to go. The small human ship moved through space like a tiny light in an ocean of darkness. Inside, the 8 engineers worked to keep it running. The ship had not been taken care of well by the aliens. Many systems were damaged or barely working. Every day brought new problems. The air system is failing again, Thomas reported on the 3rd day. We have maybe 6 hours before we cannot breathe. Alina looked at the machine that cleaned their air. It was old and broken, held together with parts that did not really fit. She thought about what they had. We still have some of those alien power cells, she said. Can we use them to boost the system? The power is not the same, Sarah said. Alien power flows in waves. Our systems use steady current. Then we need to change the wave into current. They worked for 4 hours. They used pieces of alien technology and human parts mixed together. It was not pretty. It looked like a machine made by a child from random things found in a trash pile. But it worked. The air system came back to life. Human engineering, Marcus said proudly. Make it work with whatever you have. On the 7th day, they found a problem they could not easily fix. Someone is following us, Sarah said. Alina came to look at the sensor screen. There was a shape behind them, far away but getting closer. It had the angular look of an alien ship. They are faster than us, Thomas said after checking the numbers. They will catch us in about 2 days. Alina felt cold fear in her stomach. They had escaped once. Could they do it again? How big is it? She asked. Smaller than the ship we were on, probably a hunter ship, made to chase things down. How many aliens on a ship that size? I do not know, maybe 20, maybe more. Alina thought. She looked at her fellow engineers. They were tired, but they met her eyes without flinching. They had come too far to give up now. We cannot outrun them, she said, so we need another plan. Like what? Marcus asked. Alina looked at the alien parts they had brought with them. She looked at the ship systems. She started to think. What is the most important thing on any ship? She asked. Power, Sarah answered immediately. Yes, and what happens if a ship loses power? Everything stops. Life support, engines, weapons, everything. Alina nodded slowly. The aliens use those wave power systems. We have alien parts. What if we built something that could disrupt their power? Thomas frowned. You mean like a weapon that stops their power from working? Exactly. Can we do that? Marcus asked. I do not know, Alina admitted, but I do not have a better idea, so let us try. They worked through the night. Sarah studied the alien power cells to understand how they made waves. Thomas calculated what kind of signal would disrupt those waves. Marcus built the physical device from parts of both human and alien machines. Alina put it all together and figured out how to aim it. By the morning of the 8th day, they had something. It was not tested. They did not know if it would work, but it was all they had. The alien ship will catch us in about 8 hours, Thomas said. Then we wait, Alina said, and we get ready. They spent the hours preparing. They charged the device. They positioned the ship so it could face the aliens when they arrived. They checked all their other systems to make sure they could run fast if they needed to. When the alien ship came close, it was bigger than Alina had expected. It was dark and sharp and covered with weapons. They are calling us, Sarah said. I think they want us to stop. Tell them nothing, Alina said. Let them come closer. The alien ship came closer. It was right behind them now, matching their speed. Alina could see it through the back window. It looked like a knife made of metal and bad intentions. They are getting ready to fire something, Sarah warned. Now, Alina said. Marcus activated the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Alina felt her hope start to fade. Then she saw the alien ship shudder. Its lights flickered. The weapons that had been glowing with power went dark. It worked, Thomas shouted. Their power is disrupted. Full speed ahead, Alina ordered. Now while they are helpless. Sarah pushed the engines as hard as they could go. The small human ship jumped forward like a runner starting a race. They flew for 3 hours at top speed. When they finally slowed down to check behind them, the alien ship was gone. Either it had given up, or it was still floating dead in space trying to restart its power. We did it again, Marcus said. He was grinning so wide it looked painful. Alina allowed herself a small smile, but she knew they were not safe yet. How much further to human space? She asked. Thomas checked the navigation. About 13 days at normal speed, but we used a lot of fuel running fast. We might not have enough. Of course, there was always another problem. How much fuel do we have? Enough for maybe 10 days. After that, we drift. Elena closed her eyes. She was so tired. They all were, but tired did not matter. Only getting home mattered. Okay, she said. So we need to find fuel or find another way to make the ship move. Where do we find fuel out here? Sarah asked. There is nothing around us. Elena opened her eyes. She looked at the alien parts they still had. She looked at the alien power cells. Maybe we do not need fuel, she said slowly. Maybe we need to change how the ship gets power. You want to convert the ship to use alien power? Thomas asked. That seems impossible. Everything seems impossible until an engineer figures it out, Elena said. We have 12 days. Let us see what we can do. The next 12 days were the hardest of Elena's life. They took apart half the ship and put it back together. They connected alien power cells to human engines in ways that no one had ever tried before. They made mistakes and fixed them. They argued and solved problems. They slept only when they absolutely had to. On the 10th day, the fuel ran out. The engines stopped. The ship drifted quietly through space. On the 11th day, they finished their modifications. On the 12th day, Elena stood in front of the new power system they had built. It was a mix of human and alien technology, ugly and strange and completely new. Here goes nothing, she said. She turned it on. The ship hummed, the lights flickered. For a terrible moment, Elena thought it had failed. Then the engines came back to life, not running on fuel but on alien wave power converted to human use. They were moving again. It works, Sarah whispered. It actually works. We just invented a new kind of engine, Thomas said. He sounded amazed. Elena laughed. It was a real laugh full of joy and relief. We did what engineers do, she said. We solved the problem. 2 days later, they crossed into human space. They were home. The small ship approached the human station slowly. Elena made sure they sent out all the right signals to show they were friendly. After everything they had been through, getting shot by their own people would be a terrible way to end the story. Human ship, identify yourself, came a voice through the radio. This is the crew of the mining transport Horizon Hope, Sarah replied. We were captured by alien forces and escaped. There are 8 survivors on board. We request permission to dock. There was a long silence. Elena could imagine the confusion on the station. The Horizon Hope had been missing for almost 2 months. Everyone probably thought they were dead. Mining transport Horizon Hope, we confirm your identity. You are cleared to dock at Bay 7. Medical and security teams will meet you. The station grew larger as they approached. It was a beautiful sight. Metal and lights and human technology. Signs in human languages. Ships coming and going, all built by human hands. We made it, Marcus said quietly. He had tears in his eyes. Elena put a hand on his shoulder. We all made it together. They docked the ship carefully. When the doors opened, they were met by doctors and soldiers and people with 1,000 questions. They were checked for injuries and diseases. They were given food and water and clean clothes. They were treated like heroes who had returned from the dead. Because they had. In the days that followed, Elena told their story many times. She told it to military officers who wanted to know about the aliens. She told it to engineers who wanted to know about the technology. She told it to reporters who wanted to share it with all of humanity. But there was one meeting that mattered more than the others. A week after their return, Elena was asked to speak to the Human Defense Council. These were the leaders who protected humanity from threats in space. They sat in a big room with serious faces and listened as Elena explained everything. When she finished, the head of the council spoke. You are telling us that these aliens have been capturing ships and prisoners for a long time, that they have many different species locked up on their ships. Yes, Elena said. And you managed to escape, by using their own technology against them. Yes, we are engineers. We understand machines, even strange ones. The council leader leaned forward. What you did should have been impossible. You had no weapons, no training, no help. You had only your knowledge and your skills. And you not only escaped, you freed other prisoners and disabled their ships. Elena thought about the other prisoners. She hoped some of them had escaped too. She would probably never know. We did what we had to do, she said simply. You did more than that. The council leader stood up. You showed something important. You showed that humans are not helpless against this threat. We can fight back. We can use our creativity and our engineering skill to overcome enemies with better technology. She looked at the other council members. They all nodded. Ms. Chen, we would like to offer you a position. We are creating a new team. Its job will be to study captured alien technology and find ways to use it against our enemies. We want you to lead this team. Elena was surprised. She had not expected this. The other engineers from my crew, she said. They should be part of this team too. I could not have escaped without them. Of course, anyone you want. Elena thought about it. She thought about going back to her normal life, fixing mining stations and transport ships. It would be safe. It would be quiet. But then she thought about all those prisoners she had seen. All those different species, trapped and scared. She thought about the aliens who had captured her and how they were probably still out there, still capturing more victims. I will do it, she said. We will all do it. The council leader smiled. Welcome to the Human Technology Defense Initiative. Let us show the galaxy what human engineers can do. 6 months later, Elena stood in a large workshop. Around her were machines and parts and tools of both human and alien origin. Her team of engineers moved around, working on different projects. Marcus was building a new kind of shield using alien metal. Sarah was creating communication devices that could jam alien signals. Thomas was calculating better ways to detect alien ships from far away. And Elena was working on something special, a new kind of engine based on what they had built during their escape, but better, much better, fast enough to catch alien ships, strong enough to fight back. How is it coming? Asked a voice behind her. Elena turned. It was Admiral Rodriguez, the military officer in charge of their project. Almost ready for testing, Elena said. If it works, we will have ships that can match the aliens in speed and power. And if it does not work? Elena smiled. Then we will figure out what went wrong and try again. That is what engineers do. The Admiral nodded. I have news. We received a signal from deep space. It seems some of the prisoners you freed managed to escape on other ships. They made it to their own territories and told their people what happened. Elena felt warm inside. She had hoped but had not known for sure. There is more, the Admiral continued. They want to meet with us. They want to share information about the aliens. They want to work together. This was bigger than just human survival. This was the beginning of something new. When can we meet them? Elena asked. We are arranging it now. But they asked for one thing specifically. They asked for the human engineers who freed them. They want to thank you in person. Elena looked around the workshop at her team. They had been prisoners. They had been helpless. Now they were changing everything. Tell them we will be there, she said. The Admiral left. Elena went back to her work on the engine, but her mind was thinking about bigger things. They had started as 8 scared engineers on a captured ship. They had escaped using their knowledge and their skills and their refusal to give up. Now they were leading humanity's response to an alien threat and building friendships with other species who had been hurt by the same enemy. It was not just about machines and technology. It was about what made humans special. The drive to understand, to build, to solve problems. The creativity to make something from nothing. The stubborn determination to never accept defeat. Some species had bigger ships. Some had better weapons. Some had powers humans could not imagine. But humans had something those others did not. They had the spirit that made them pick up the first rock and wonder what they could do with it. The spirit that made them build fires and wheels and cities and ships that flew between stars. The spirit that said, "Give us a problem and we will find a solution. Give us parts and we will build something new. Capture us and we will find a way out." Because that was what humans did. Alina finished her work for the day. She looked out a window at the stars beyond the station. Somewhere out there were enemies who had underestimated her species. They had thought humans were soft and weak and easy to control. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Humanity," Alina said softly to the stars, "we do not give up, we do not stop, we just keep building." She turned off the lights and went to get some rest. Tomorrow there would be more work to do, more problems to solve, more things to build. And she could not wait.